All right, welcome to another special edition of Back to the Bird, where we go inside the rivalry. This week, we're going inside the rivalry of the Steelers-Ravens matchup this week. I have my good friend Jake Gerber. We went to school together, and he's probably the only Ravens fan that was easy enough to get a hold of this week. So we're going to be breaking down the rivalry, the whole history of it, and then we're going to get into an overview of this week's game. Starting off, we're going to look at the first meeting was in 1996. Since then, the Steelers have led the rivalry 28-24. I know ESPN tried to put out this. They put out this stat, said, "Oh, since 1999, it's even 23-23." Well, from the very beginning, Steelers have the lead. So I just wanted to get that out there. So let's talk about the rivalry as a whole and like all the big moments. I know, like, as a Steeler fan, I try to forget the bad things that happened to us. So I want to know, from a Ravens perspective, what are all the good moments from this rivalry for you?
So for me, obviously, like you said, I'm a big Ravens fan, but first I'm a football fan. So for me, I like to watch a good competitive game. And you ask anybody that's ever competed in the AFC North, and they'll tell you the Steelers-Ravens game is one of the best football games of the year. Why? Because it's hard-nosed football. It usually comes around that time of the year where it starts to get cold and playoff stakes are on the line. Who's going to be in first? Who's going to have maybe that bye week, who's going to have that wild card position. And they're always physical games. They're exciting. They're intense. There is no better game than the Steelers-Ravens, in my opinion. And I'm surprised for this week that it didn't get flexed to maybe a nighttime game.
Exactly. I'd expect it to get flexed to at least 4:30.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. But over the years, man, it has just been, it's an amazing game. It's always two good defenses. It doesn't matter what anybody's record is. One team could be undefeated. The other team could be 0-8, whatever, and coming into the game, it's always going to be close. That's why I said I laughed last year, where we actually, for Bethany for lacrosse, we worked the Ravens-Steelers game, and the backup quarterback was in for the Steelers. It doesn't matter who's in because it's always going to be a close game.
So yeah, talk about that. You were on the field doing security at Heinz Field. What was the atmosphere like for that rivalry? Because I assume you've been on the field before for other games doing security, but was there a different feel for that game?
Yeah, so this time I was actually 5 rows back. So I had one of the best seats in the house. And my job was just to kind of make sure nobody climbed over the gate. So, basically I was just watching the game, 5 rows back. And I had I forgot I had my Ravens wristbands on. And I was getting heckled by a couple fans. And then some of the Ravens fans were kind of sticking up for me. And then eventually, we were kind of chirping back and forth. I had to keep it professional, but it was a good time. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I think that it was a great experience being close, hearing the pads cracking. And it was definitely one of our worst offensive games because, like I said, I think that both teams bring out the best in each other, but also they cause each other to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, hey, in this rivalry, anybody can get it, from the guy sitting behind you to the security guard in the aisle.
Yeah.
So now tell me, so for me, some of the big moments in this rivalry are, you got one that always sticks out to me, but that I think a lot of people don't think about is the Ryan Clark hit on Willis McGahee in the AFC Championship game. In that same game, you have Troy Polamalu's basically game-clinching interception taken back for a touchdown. And then in recent memory, we have the immaculate extension, as we like to call it in Pittsburgh, with Antonio Brown extending the football. What are some moments from a Ravens perspective that are like, okay, we finally beat the Steelers, or we had this moment against the Steelers where they can't take it away from us?
So before I answer that, it's important for anybody watching to be a football fan first and realize that the Ravens under Lamar Jackson have not played a full Steelers team yet. So it can't be any recent Raven moment necessarily, but I'm going to go back to, I believe it was the year we won the Super Bowl, 4th and 27 against the Chargers, when Flacco dunked in underneath to Ray Rice, and somehow he picked up a first down. It was under review for like 15 minutes, and we got a first down. And I remember, that was just a crazy moment. But I think probably the biggest one had to be the Jacoby Jones, Joe Flacco dropping a bomb over the top to Jacoby Jones against the Broncos to send us. Yeah, there's been some crazy moments.
Speaking of Jacoby Jones, that makes me think of the kick return that almost was when Mike Tomlin was accidentally on the field. What was the thought process as a fan, like watching that and seeing that happen, saying the coach just took a touchdown away from our team?
Yeah, I was frustrated. I didn't mean to get away from the Steelers-Ravens part. I just realized it. Yeah, it was frustrating here and there, but hey, rivalries, it's going to get chippy. People are going to try and get away with things. Was it wrong? Yeah, but part of the game. And also one of my other favorite moments too that I'm remembering now is when Haloti Ngata hit Ben Roethlisberger, broke his nose, and Ben talked about that. I think this week. He goes, "This is one of the first times I'm going into a Ravens game without a broken nose."
That's probably true, and that's something he brought up this week, and he made a big point of, is that this is a physical game. It's a physical rivalry altogether. And he said, and I quote, "This is a game you want to have a bye week after." Now, both teams, I think, maybe not you guys, but us at least, our bye week was messed up due to the whole COVID protocol. And so has that affected, you think, the Ravens at all in this season? Or do you think, oh, we had our bye week already, it was later in the season, we're fine? Do you think that gives you guys an advantage?
So I think the way that the bye week played out this year was perfect because it was right around the trade deadline. And I think going out and getting Yannick Ngakoue was pretty big. It allows us to rush 4 and not have to, we're still going to blitz a lot because it's just what we do. It's why we lost against the Chiefs, but it's going to allow our defense to be able to do some more things versatility-wise. But then it also allowed us to bring in Dez Bryant. It kind of gave him, we signed him a little later than what I thought we were going to, but I think that it gives him a chance to kind of get in the groove of things, see if he's still got it, and it gives our offense a chance to regroup and overall regroup. I think the bye week was coming at a good time. It concerned me with the Eagles game. I think we've played, other than, the Chiefs game is what it is. But I think other than that, we've been pretty dominant, other than the fact that, I don't know what happened in the second half against the Eagles, which was frustrating. But I think the bye week gives us that chance to kind of regroup, refocus, and get dialed in to play Pittsburgh.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the fact that you guys have made trades and you brought in Dez Bryant. As a Steeler fan, I saw that as, oh, they're panicking. They're trying to get on the Steelers level by adding these people to their team. Do you see it that way, or how do you see it from a Ravens perspective?
So the way that I saw it from a Ravens perspective is the fact that there's no guarantee that Dez Bryant is necessarily going to be playing. I'd imagine he will at some point, but to say we're in desperation mode offensively, anybody that says we're not is full of themselves. We have the second worst passing attack in the NFL. We can't throw the ball downfield, and if all you have is it's on film enough now. If you key in on the tight end Mark Andrews, which you're going to see, you're not going to give him a free release. You're going to keep safety help over the top, so you kind of minimize him. Who else is there offensively in the passing game? Hollywood gets some explosive plays here and there, but guys aren't creating separation. Guys aren't getting open. And I think that Baltimore saw it as an opportunity to bring in a guy that has had big play potential, a guy where Lamar isn't known to be very accurate. He can miss a little bit. He can give Dez a chance where if you put the ball up, give him maybe some 50-50 opportunities, try and open up that offense to help the run game and some of the other receivers.
Yeah, so before we get into this week's game, I just want to mention, and this is just to make me feel good, Lamar Jackson last year, when he played a full game against the Steelers, was statistically his worst game of his career. I give that to our defensive ends and our blitzing. We're Blitzburg. That's what we do. And I think that's something that Lamar hasn't been able to handle. And I don't think he'll be able to handle it going into this week or for the rest of the season. How do you see that? Do you think he's developed enough to be able to identify the rush and be able to get out of those sticky situations and possibly play better against Blitzburg?
No.
Oh.
Lamar has, in my opinion, I think that he's unpopular opinion. I played quarterback. I've been around the game a long time. He has regressed as a passer, in my opinion. People have made every excuse. Okay. He's electrifying. I've said that he's the James Harden of the NFL. He's going to have these incredible regular seasons, but when push comes to shove, You ask anybody in the NFL, is Lamar Jackson going to run your 2-minute drill at the end of a game? Nobody's going to pick him unless you're a diehard Lamar fan. And I love the kid. I think he's a great kid. I think he's a great player. But I'm being truthful. In the passing game, he has not shown that if we need to throw the football to win a game, he hasn't been able to do it. It is what it is. I think Pittsburgh's personnel defensively, you're able to rush 4. You will be able to get pressure. And the zone blitzing scheme, I get Bush is not playing, Devin Bush, but personnel-wise, I think you guys match up pretty well against our offense, and we won't have Mark Ingram, which I don't think it makes a difference either because the Steelers have been dominant against the run. We'll see what happens with Lamar in there, but I think the zone blitz, Mike Tomlin last season did a great job disguising things and confusing Lamar. So I don't know. As of right now, based off of what we know, I don't think Lamar will have a great game. I don't think he will win us that game. If we were to win the game, it would be not turning the football over and playing well in other aspects.
Yeah, so let's get into this game. I want to point out we match up, like you said, we match up very well in this game. I think this is going to be the closest we get in the NFL to an Army-Navy game. I think we're going to see a lot of running. It's going to be a lot of ground and pound, very little passing because your guys' secondary is pretty damn good. Not to say that our receivers aren't as good, but we have young receivers against a pretty veteran defense that you present in Baltimore. Would you agree that that's what's going to happen, that we're going to see a lot of ground and pound, and it's going to be a very boring and fast game just because the clock's going to run out because nobody's throwing the ball?
I think that the Ravens are going to come out with a little more play action, but it's going to be a run-heavy base, and we'll see if we're going to be able to run the ball. But from the Steelers aspect, I don't think anything offensively is going to change. I think that the quick passing game will be there. The only difference with Baltimore is we're able to go man coverage because we have 3 corners that are able to kind of play man. But I do see Pittsburgh trying to take advantage of Marcus Peters because Marcus Peters, as great as he is, he likes to take risks. And the Chiefs, a couple times, ran a double move on him, ran some rub routes in his direction to try to get him to bite and take advantage over the top. But I think that the Steelers are going to do very similar things offensively. I don't think much will change for them.
Yeah, I think since I have that outlook on the game of like an Army-Navy style, I think it just comes from, as a fan, being nervous because we do have that young receiving core. Juju, I think he's only like 23 years old. He's the oldest guy in the receiving core, and you don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, he's a 23-year-old playing like a vet, like a 10-year vet, in my opinion. But still, the lack of years behind him is nerve-wracking as a fan. Do you see that being a factor in this game and how our offense could possibly fall to the Baltimore defense?
So I think that the simpler they keep the offense this week will suit those receivers because in Baltimore, it's no mystery now having Ngakoue, he's paired with Calais Campbell. We should be able to rush 4 and get pressure. So now we're going to be able to leave the linebackers in coverage, which is going to make things maybe a little harder in the passing game. So those receivers are going to have to, instead of just running the route, are maybe going to have to run the route, but then look for a soft spot in the zone coverage, beat man coverage, and not let our corners kind of get in their head. And then from a Baltimore aspect, you got to pressure these receivers, kind of dominate them at the line and kind of deter them from throwing the football and make Ben hold the ball.
Yeah, all right. Well, it was great breaking down this game with you. I think this was way more insightful than I expected it to be, I'll be honest. But I should have expected it because I know you have a great football mind. Be sure to follow or subscribe to Jake's YouTube channel. Jake, if you want to plug that, I don't know if it's just your name or...
It's just my name, yes.
Yeah, just Jake Gerber.
Jake Gerber.
I'll be sure to put the link in the bio. Thanks again, Jake. And hey, go Steelers. Baltimore sucks. And
shout out to the Ravens.
We'll see how it turns out this weekend. Thanks, man.